Pittsburgh Steelers fans, welcome back to another episode of the Scho Bro Show. This is the Steel Curtain Network's Dave Schofield coming at you Tuesday night, a little bit further after 9 than I wanted to be. But as a Steelers fan, where else would you rather be? With me, as always, except when he's not, is my big brother, Rich. Rich, how's it going tonight?
To be the man, you got to beat the man.
Yeah. Well, you're a little disappointed, aren't you?
Yeah.
You were all hyped for this. You were all hyped for this to be.
Let down. I quit.
Yeah, you quit.
I'm going home. Oh wait, I am home.
Yeah, you're going home. You're taking your microphone and going home. Oh, wait a second. This was supposed to be tonight. Was supposed to be the final quote unquote SB Nation podcast under what was formerly known as Behind the Steel Curtain Podcast Network, which is now the Steel Curtain Network that we are part of. We've already rebranded on YouTube. We've rebranded everywhere we can. We've got the Twitter handle out there. If you haven't followed us, make sure you do. Steel C Network on Twitter. Make sure you do that. Kyle Kreis is doing a fantastic job with stuff with Twitter out there, getting sound bites out there a lot. But I know you've liked the stuff that he's done. I know you want to chime in there.
I do. He really has done a nice job.
Yes, he has.
I'm not a big Twitter person.
No.
But I go on at least every couple days just to go through some of the things Kyle's putting on there because I like them.
Yeah. Well, if you listen to Let's Ride, you'll find out even more about this tomorrow. I think Jeff talked about it, but I'm going to go ahead and mention it. This is not our final SB Nation podcast. I hope this came through because my screen froze for a second there. Because during the preview on Thursday night, seriously, during the show, you hear a buzz maybe in the background all at the same time because Jeff, Brian, and I all get messages at the same time that basically SB Nation is they don't adhere to the Mike Tomlin philosophy to life, and that is I should have had the soundbite, but I don't.
You should. I
should have done it, but it's been a busy day, and that is volunteers, not hostages. Unfortunately, we are basically being held hostage right now by SB Nation at the very last second after they said, you all were let go for March 1st. You have to find somewhere else to go. We've done that. We've set it all up. Fan First Sports Network is up and going. We've even got a Twitter handle. I've got to remember what that is exactly because it's a very long, it can't be Fan First Sports Network simply because that's too many letters. Trust me, as a guy that had to worry about the whole notion of too many letters in his Twitter handle. But it's Fans First SN. I had to make sure I had it right. That's our Twitter handle for the entire network. And we have a lot of different podcasts coming in there. A lot of them are coming over from SB Nation, and those that aren't, we're filling in with some other places, and that's something we're continuing to build. But the biggest thing was moving over the SB Nation podcast, and they basically now say, yeah, we haven't figured out how to actually let you go. So they told us they're letting us go, but they can't figure out how to let us go. So we're pushed back. Right now that new date is tentatively April 1st now. Could it get moved up? Hopefully. Could it get pushed back? Hopefully not. But I will tell you, for all of you listening here, especially in the audio form, if you're here on YouTube, you're already part of the Steel Curtain Network YouTube channel. If you're here on Facebook, it's still there. There's going to be coming soon a Steel Curtain Network Facebook page. But if you're listening to this in audio and you're like, oh man, all you have to do is subscribe now. And when the network changes, your subscription's still just going to roll over with it. Just hit subscribe or follow or whatever it is based on where you do podcasts and all that. The name change will just be the name change when that occurs. If you're worried about missing out on it, because if you're already subscribed, then you have nothing to worry about. So what's interesting is that just means that all the things that we had set up with advertising and everything gets pushed back. It's kind of a pain. You all probably don't, it's not going to change much to you all, the listener, other than hearing us talk about when we're going to be there. So that's it. Rich, Love this one. Gotta love this one from Afton Foreign. Says our incompetence means we can't let you go. You summed it up nice. Yeah.
Yep.
That's pretty much what they're saying. So the more that I've had to dive into the world of podcasts and how they work, I've learned so much about how not to do podcasts and have a podcast network set up. Basically by seeing what we've been a part of here. So that's good. It's going to be good. Like Brian Brown says, kind of like Hines to Acrisure. No, because Hines was pretty cool. And this is kind of the opposite. Hey, but here we are. We're still going. Rich, I've talked about it enough. Anything you want to say before we roll into some tight end theory? Yes, it is. That is a reference to the 1991 Low End Theory album by Tribe Called Quest. So why don't you go ahead and give us the scenario?
Oh, I thought I was going to start singing the theme to the Big Bang Theory.
Oh, the Big Bang Theory. Oh, I was going with the Low End Theory. But either way, that works good too.
Tight end, the Low End Theory. That's
a
good album. I was just reading about that album the other day.
You didn't even catch my other reference when I said, come on, just lay out the scenario for us.
Yeah, whatever.
Okay, go ahead.
Now I forgot what I'm supposed to be doing. Now you got me totally off track.
Any comment you wanted to talk about?
No,
everything.
No, I'd rather start talking about Steeler football.
Let's talk good. We'd rather talk. Someone's here struggling with sound. Daniel. Okay. It's not just a Facebook thing because others from Facebook are saying they have sound. So hopefully you can get that figured out. We didn't want any problem with our feed going. Maybe that was SB Nation trying to silence us.
There you go.
Silence. We should not be silenced. So, and it's funny. People are like, well, why don't you just go ahead and just start? It's all about you. It's about the listeners. We're wanting the listeners, with the way these feeds work is we want the transition to be seamless for you all. So let's talk tight ends, okay? Before we do,
talk tight ends.
Quick thing. Omar Khan spoke a bunch today, a bunch of different places at the Combine. He talked to the Pittsburgh media first. Then he was at the podium. Then he did an interview with SNR. Some of the stuff was the same. Some of it was different. I already did a podcast on that to recap what he spoke to with the Pittsburgh media. That was different than the stuff that he said when he was at the podium. So we're not even, I'm just going to say, if you want to know a little bit more about that, make sure you check that out. He talked about some, pending free agents, talked about Mitch Trubisky, talking about improvements with the growth of Kenny Pickett, all great stuff. I'm just going to direct you in that direction. Did you get to catch out any sound bits or anything from Coach Khan or?
I did
Coach
not.
Khan,
I was
General Manager Khan.
No, I was quite busy today, so I did not get to. It was a struggle for me just to keep up everything everybody was putting on the Slack channel.
Yes, and because it was there, lots of information, things going out there. So it's kind of exciting just to hear something new from someone from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Haven't heard from Mike Tomlin since the Monday after their last game. You're not going to hear from him from the draft. He's one of the few head coaches that don't speak, where other ones do. But it was really great to hear something going on there. NFL's year round. So here we go. Combine is really rolling on. The coverage starts Thursday. If you want more about the coverage, it's not in prime time as it was before. And there's some slight tweaks because last year there was a complaint because of fitting it all in prime time that players had to do their on-field workouts and bench press the same day. That's now spread out towards another day longer. But coverage starts Thursday. We'll have an article at BehindTheSteelCurtain.com. That website site still exists. Thursday morning with telling you how you can watch. Whew. Rich. I ran a couple articles this weekend, and it's funny because I kept trying to lay out in the article. I did one on Saturday, one on Sunday. I kept trying to lay out that we're not talking about 2023. In order to figure out where you need to go in 2023, you've got to figure out where you struggled in 2022. So let's talk about 2022 and where you struggled. And of course, what did people want to then do? Because I specifically mentioned it, they're like, well, this person's a free agent. We're not talking about who's a free agent. We were talking about 2022. And the talk was the position groups, first of all, that you're most concerned about. And then the next article was the one that you're most confident in, that you're least concerned about. One of the ones towards the top, actually, I think right now the poll's still open. They're either number 2 or number 3, is the tight ends. That there was not a lot of concern about the tight ends last year. Do you share that sentiment?
I do.
Okay. Yes. You were satisfied and weren't really worried about the Steelers tight ends.
I was satisfied with the Steelers tight end room.
Yeah.
Good room.
Now, notice they were all guys on rookie contracts.
Yep.
All they had moved on from Eric Ebron, whose contract ran out the year before after he was injured. So you had Freiermuth on a rookie deal, Gentry on a rookie deal, and they drafted Connor Hayward to fill out the room. Okay? Because Connor Hayward is kind of that hybrid player, we're going to go ahead and probably talk about fullbacks a little bit tonight. Because do we really? No, we kind of mentioned fullbacks in with the running backs. So if we want to, we can.
May kind of mention them again a little bit tonight because they kind of fit.
They kind of mesh together, especially when Derek Watts lined up more as an H-back than a power eye fullback anyway. So last year the Steelers they went late in the draft, filled out the room, and they were good. They even had someone from the year before who was a former undrafted free agent, Kevin Rader, that was still there, but Connor Hayward beat him out for the job, and Rader ended up in Tennessee. Were you happy with what the Steelers did with the tight end position going into last year? Addressing it late in the draft and kind of seeing what happens?
Oh, yeah, I was fine. Again, I had no issues with the room. I had no issues with the way the Steelers went about looking to fill out the room. I think the Steelers, in their mind, would have been okay if Rader would have been the guy to make the team. But Hayward clearly had what I want to say a greater
upside.
He had a broader skill set.
There you go. That's a great way to say it.
He had a broader skill set, which is why I think in the end they went with him.
Hey, and anytime, even if it's the last player on the depth chart that's on the 53-man roster, it's still one that's active on game day and still sees time, even though it might not be much time, in the offense. If you could take a late round draft pick and upgrade the bottom of your depth chart in year one, that's a win, in my opinion.
Sure.
A 6th round draft pick and you upgrade the bottom part of that. And not only that, he's sitting there in pretty good position when we turn the corner and talk about this year coming up. So I was satisfied with that. Really, the only tight end who gave major production during the season, you would have to say, is Pat Freiermuth. Don't you think that's a fair assessment?
Yes, sort of.
Yes, sort of. I mean, Zach Gentry, I'm pretty sure he had, because this week's Vertex, which I think is going to this week be on Thursday because of some other stuff we have going on. He had 19 receptions this year. I'm trying to look it up here to see how many receptions Connor Hayward had this year. He had 12, but he did have a touchdown in there. But then you had Pat Freiermuth, who had the second most receptions on the team.
Right. And you knew that was going to be the case, that, you're going to feed the ball to Freiermuth. But my thought was, between the other two, they got them the ball enough. And honestly, Gentry so did Hayward. I mean, they caught some big first downs in some games. I mean, their catches were timely. The Steelers were like, oh, you're going to cover everybody else? Hey, we can get it to these guys and get first downs.
Yeah.
Boom. There it was.
And
which
Connor
really
Hayward is a perfect example of that. I agree with you. Yeah.
So, but Gentry had a good number too. They were running those quick little almost like slip screens to Gentry a lot that were going for first downs a lot of the time. And it's like, I like them.
I'm trying to see if I have the advanced. I don't. I'd have to go into each player, but I mean, I can right here. Gentry had 19 receptions for 130. He had like an 82.6 catching percentage. That's the most of the second most of anyone who had double-digit receptions on the Steelers this year, only behind Jaylen Warren when it comes to catching percentage.
Yeah.
Now, one time I felt like it was that obvious play they were going to go to Gentry, and based on the timing, and not only did Steelers fans see it, so did the opposition, and it got thrown for a loss. Yeah. When they do that little, slip screen. Yep. To him, I don't know if that's the right term for that, where he just kind of is there and turns out. But for example, Zach Gentry had 19 catches. Of his 19 catches, 6 of them went for first downs.
Yeah.
All right. When you look at Connor Hayward had. Wait a second. Why did it all of a sudden just go away? Connor Hayward had 12 receptions this year. Of his 12 receptions, obviously, one of them was a first down because it was a touchdown. But of his 12 receptions, 6 of them were for first downs.
Right.
So
12 first downs out of those guys on what's it work out to be 31 receptions?
Yep. Yeah. So and that's not even your main guy. Now, if you want to talk about the main guy, when you're talking about Freiermuth, he had 63 receptions for the year. All right. Oh, wait a second. We got told one time we shouldn't talk about numbers. We're just supposed to we're only supposed to give opinions and not actually base it with any fact. I forgot about that. Or are you okay talking about numbers? Sorry. Had to dig that in there a little bit. He had 37 first downs. 37 of his 63. So
I'm sorry. You put those guys' numbers together. That's pretty good production out of your tight end.
Yeah. So that's the main thing there. And the other thing when it comes to Gentry, especially, is the blocking. Because first of all, you look at the Steelers position, and I mean, we all know who the starting tight end was for the Steelers this year, right?
Nope.
Yeah, you're right, because it was Zach Gentry. He started the most games. If you look at it, who goes down as the season starter for the Steelers? It's Zach Gentry. He started 12 games. Gentry started 12, and I'm pretty sure Freiermuth it was 8. So technically,
a game in there where they both started.
Well,
a couple games in there they both started.
Exactly. Well, because what it was is, seriously, it's kind of, I admit, I did the same. Every single game that I coached where I was calling plays, I ran the first play of the first play of the game. Every time. And the Steelers might not run the same play, but it's a similar play. They're going to line up with a bigger package and run the ball the first down. Or they're going to line up in a bigger package and then try to throw it. But chances are you're going to have a bigger package on the field the very first play because it's just what they line up to do. So that's what you got there. So overall, you were satisfied with the tight end play and everything in 2002.
Yes.
All right. So we're going to go ahead and take our break so we can turn into 2003 and say, let's see how to build the room and where to go from there. So stick around. If you're on YouTube, Facebook, we'll be back. It's a couple seconds. If you're on the audio, stick around for this probably blank space with no ads filled by SB Nation because, we won't go into that. And then we'll be right back. And we are back, Pittsburgh Steelers fans. That's you got to give that break for ads that SB Nation isn't filling. So just got to make sure it's there. What did I say? Did I say 2003?
You know what? I'm not
sure. I didn't even catch it,
but not until I saw it, I was like, that wasn't a 23. I heard at the end.
Yeah.
So let's talk about
2023. 23. Yeah, I screwed that up somehow. Yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah. I was looking at the clock. And I think it was 18 minutes and 23. Or I don't know. That's what I said. 2002 and 2003. Yeah. 2022, 2023. There we go. Are we square? All right.
Oh, I'm okay.
Okay.
Just, are you going to get correct years, because
because if we want to go back to 2002 and 2003, well, that's pre Heath Miller, which we don't even I don't even know about that. Okay,
wait, somebody said 2003 says Steel Dog 8. Isn't that Jay
Reavers? Okay, or as Marky D says here, Steelers Nation Australia, he says we need to protect Maddox.
Yeah. Okay,
gotta love it. Gotta love
about,
it.
What next year, which is 2023.
2023. Let's look at it. Steelers room, Zach Gentry, free agent. Rich, are you interested in bringing Zach Gentry back? or you do realize you're muted. I just thought I'd tell you. So, and hopefully you're not even frozen. So we'll keep going. Oh, there we go.
There we go. Okay,
there we go. All right, we got it. Are you interested?
I hit my cord on my microphone and it jiggled loose, and that automatically mutes you. So I had to replug in the microphone.
It doesn't mute me. It mutes you. Yeah, I got you. Okay.
So,
are you interested in bringing back Gentry?
Can I give my typical free agent answer?
Yeah, for the right money,
for the right price.
Yeah, exactly. Really, that's what it comes down to.
Here's what I really love about Gentry. All right, that dude is basically another offensive lineman. The guy's what 6'6" or something, 6'7". Like, he's tall, and he weighs 260 pounds.
Yeah,
he's another lineman.
Yeah. And like, here we go. I'm sorry, Myrna, Jane, and Bert. Gentry gives nothing in the passing game, no splash. Tight ends aren't about the passing game all the time. My goodness, I actually started off as a tight end, never went out on a pass route, never caught a ball, but I was, we were trying to work in an extra offensive lineman. I ended up being the starting tackle before the season started anyway. So it didn't really matter. But that's what it was really all about, is getting someone else that can do that. And you don't have to be a threat like that in the passing game to be an effective tight end. My goodness. How much of a threat was Jesse James? How much of a threat was Matt Spaeth? They weren't a huge threat. Jesse James more out of any of those names. Okay. But you're not that huge threat because you have multiple roles. Okay.
Okay. Now he comes. I don't know if we're talking to Murder.
He's not a tight end. My goodness, stop talking about Kelsey about being a tight end.
You can talk about Kelsey being a tight end. Okay, we have that tight end. His name is Pat Freiermuth.
Exactly. He's not really. He's kind of. Who's the other one?
There's not a place on the team for two of those. Nobody's running two of those guys. You're not seeing two Kelseys on the field at the same time playing tight end. Now, we did see two Kelseys on the field. Well, not at the same time, but two Kelseys on the field in the Super Bowl. But, one center, one tight end.
Yeah.
But, you're not seeing two players like that who are that big of a pass catching threat in the tight end position. You just don't see it. Okay.
When you run a two tight end set, you are not wanting to have two tight ends that aren't going to be below average blockers. That is a waste of the formation. Because honestly, if the Steelers don't bring back Gentry, and I'm okay if they don't, because if he's going to make money somewhere else, I'm fine with that. But to me, if you don't bring back Zach Gentry, you're either going to have to use your tackle eligible tight end even more, which they used a little bit last year, but not a ton. They just did it when they wanted to go really, really big. Because guess who else was out there with him? Zach Gentry. If not, you're going to have to get that type of tight end. You're going to need a tight end that's basically a glorified lineman, but could at least give you something to catch the ball.
And Connor Hayward cannot fill that role.
No, I don't
because
think
Connor Hayward is not big enough to fill that role.
That's not who he's meant to be. Tough. You're exactly right. Yeah,
right. He is. Connor Hayward is a tough-nosed guy, but he's given up 6 or 7 inches and 40 pounds at least, probably, to Gentry.
Yeah. I mean, to me, the gold standard in Pittsburgh Steelers football of that second tight end that does that in my lifetime more, because I didn't, back in the 70s and even the 80s, I wasn't really understand I think of why did it all of a sudden escape my name? That was from Minnesota, from the University of Minnesota, that I already talked about before. Oh my goodness, why is his name gone for me again? That left for 1 year for a year or two for the Bears and then came back recently. That was with Heath. Spaeth. That was like, I'm like, why am I thinking of Heath? It's not Heath, it's Spaeth.
Sorry, you got talking 70s and 80s. I'm like, who are you talking about?
No, I'm just saying, if people could think of an example from back then, I don't have one off the top of my head. But to me, Matt Spaeth is that other tight end that you threw to rarely, but he did, and someone said it in there, did the dirty work. So
guys like Heath Miller are rare. Okay. Heath Miller was a receiving threat and a phenomenal blocking tight end. It's tough to find guys anymore that are fantastic at both.
Yeah. Because if you're going to be that good at that receiving threat, why do you want to go block? Honestly, because think of it. What's going to earn you the money in the NFL?
That's
becoming a better receiver as a tight end or becoming a better blocker as a tight end? Honestly, what's going to give you the bigger contract?
In today's NFL, it's the receiving.
So if you're good at both of those, what would you honestly focus on building more of your game around?
Right.
It's got to be the receiving because that's what's going to pay off.
Right. But then you've got guys like Gentry out there who realize that there is a niche for them in the NFL.
Yeah.
To play tight end as more of a blocking tight end. Yeah. Are they going to make the money? No.
But Jesse James sure did from Detroit, though, man. He really did.
But they've got a spot.
Yeah.
It's like, that's how you make a team.
Yeah. Oh, Thomas Riley says Eric Green, Adrian Cooper. That's a name I haven't thought of for a long time.
I have not either until you.
My goodness, I wouldn't have even been able to name that if you wouldn't have put out that good one, Thomas Riley. Yeah. So the other one that now back, like I said, back in the 70s, your tight end was kind of expected to do the dirty work things. That's not today's NFL. But there's
Benny Cunningham did both.
Yeah.
Heath Miller was really one of the last guys out there that really did both that.
I'm trying to think of even someone in the NFL today that is like that. Because chances are, if you know their name because they're a good receiver, they're not doing that as much. Because I just think of the bigger tight end, like the Kelsey, like Mark Andrews, like Hawkinson, the for Detroit thing got traded to Minnesota. I'm thinking of guys like that. Some of these guys, they really are. I mean, Pitts, who was drafted as the only tight end ahead of Freiermuth. He doesn't even line up to play tight end at all.
Right.
I mean, really, he doesn't do any of that stuff. I'm not saying the other guys don't. Trust me, I'm not. But to really be that guy, there's a need for you, but you're going to be an NFL player, but you're not going to be a superstar getting superstar money.
I look at this. Thomas Riley brings up, says maybe Gronk and Kelsey fit into the category of, for me, both of them.
Mm-hmm.
If I really needed a tight, like if our roster really dictated that we were really going to run the ball, they can be that blocking guy. But if we're going to be passing the ball, then you're just wasting them as a blocking guy. Get them out in the pass route.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, face it, Kansas City just doesn't run the ball. Yeah, I mean,
I know
they
what you're
do
trying to
run
say.
the ball,
Yeah.
but it's not. They know they want to use Kelsey because he's such a valuable weapon in the passing game. So they're not asking him to block near
Do
as
you want to
often.
wear the guy out throughout the game and having him block a lot?
Yep.
When he's such a big offensive weapon. And that's that. You're right. That's the NFL of today. So the thing
you
is
got to
that
also think the other thing in the NFL
Mhm.
today is guys like Hines Ward changed the wide receiver position. I mean, now you see wide receivers coming down and blocking out defensive ends and things like that
Mhm.
because some of those guys are big enough and tough enough to help out and do some of that. So you figure out ways to not have the as large a need to have a fantastic blocking tight end out there at times because you can also get wide receivers to help out.
Yeah. But the thing is that if you're going to have a quote unquote blocking tight end, you can't spend a lot of money on them. You really can't.
Right.
Because you want to use them if you have them and when you need them. But when it really comes down to it, your assets have to be used other places. So when it comes to there's a lot of time talking about blocking tight end, but it's a good point because that's the one position that the Steelers are really don't have right now for this year. Could they find somebody else even at a veteran minimum contract, whether it be Zach Gentry or somebody else? That's what I'm looking for the Steelers to do.
You know what? Here, I'll go, since we started on this, Fred, I'll go bring up because it raised another good question, and I've got a way I'm going to answer it. So Murder Jane and Bert say Pat goes down, so you're banking on Gentry to fill in 2 or 3 games.
No, I'm banking on Connor Hayward.
I'm banking on Connor Hayward to come
because
in
he's closer to the Muth role than Gentry is.
Correct.
But Gentry's it's kind of it's almost like guard and tackle. Even though they're both tight ends, they're a different type of tight end.
Yeah.
So, just because they're both offensive linemen doesn't mean now some guys can play both guard and tackle. And those are really big assets to have. But a lot of those guys that can play both guard and tackle aren't even necessarily your starters because it's the whole jack of all trades, master of none idea. Guys trying to make a roster, the more versatile you are, the more likely is you'll stick, things of that nature. Guys that are really going to land in there, is what it is. So, yeah. Wait, I got it on my phone. It hasn't showed up on our screen yet because we've got some dingo dollars coming that I got to be able to bring up. There it is. There it is. He says, "Good day, fellas. Long time listener and huge fan of the show." Can Connor Hayward play fullback? Okay. At least I didn't have to say Jennifer Lopez. Sorry. Can Connor Hayward play fullback? Rich.
Technically, yes. Connor Hayward's technical position, if you ask me, is H-back.
Yes.
Which is somewhere between fullback and tight end.
Yeah, he's a versatile weapon.
What would Mike no. What would Mike Tomlin call him?
Hold on. Wait. It's what he called Trey Norwood when he drafted him. Swiss Army knife.
Thank you.
Yes. That's what it is. There we go. Yeah. I had to remember what it was.
Yes.
Okay.
Swiss Army knife.
Swiss Army knife. Yeah. But now, if you're talking about lining up in the I formation to be the lead blocker going through, I don't know that that's Connor Hayward, but how often did the Steelers line up in that formation? Even when they had Derek Watt on the field, how many times was he lined up more as an H-back or, there at the wing? I mean, he caught a touchdown. And what was it? Coming through from over there, lining up as that quote unquote wing back.
There's no more power eye or off, once in a while you see a little bit of offset eye, but not much. But I couldn't tell the last time I saw a power eye formation out of the Steelers.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really, it's used so rarely that's why somebody like a Derek Watt, and everyone got so upset, oh, you pay all this money to Derek Watt as a fullback. You were paying Derek Watt as a special teams player. He's just someone that could also be your fullback because when, 90-some% of his snaps are on special teams, I mean, it's high 90s versus on offense. That's what he's being paid to do, but he also fills a role that they don't have to have somebody else do. When you can have great special teams guys, because guess who another really good special teams guy is? Connor Hayward.
Yep.
I mean, he played the second most snaps on special teams this past year. Connor Hayward did. It was a tie for the most between, I think, Watt and Killebrew. I think we're tied for the most, and then Connor Hayward and somebody else was behind him. I had those snaps here at one point. I don't even know what happened to him. Actually, I have him right here, so I could tell you real quick. It was Watt and Killebrew played 290, and Connor Hayward and Benny Snell Jr. played 284. So when you have someone that can fill a role down the depth chart and can play special teams like that, now, why is Connor Hayward playing special teams? Because he's the third tight end. If Connor Hayward moves up the depth chart, guess who's going to be asked to play special teams more? Probably the third tight end.
Yeah.
So, and honestly, if Connor Hayward is your quote unquote second tight end and the Steelers bring in someone else, or they draft someone late, or they have an undrafted free agent, something like that, that's more of your quote unquote blocking tight end, they might be your third tight end, but they're going to be used in the way that Gentry was. The number of where they are on the depth chart wouldn't matter. Right. From what they're going to do. So, Rich, how do you think the Steelers are going to shape this roster? They're going to roll Pat Freiermuth. They're going to roll out Connor Hayward. They're going to what if it's not Zach Gentry? What do you think?
I think they fill it with a veteran, whether that be Gentry or somebody else.
Okay, so you think probably what I would that I'll say a veteran salary benefit contract.
Yes,
a veteran salary benefit contract is not your high profile free agent contract. It is a contract for someone who has been in the NFL for 4 seasons or more. They are paid based on their experience, but they actually cost less against the salary cap. It's generally, I don't know, like $150,000 less on the salary cap than what their actual salary is. It's not that big cut like it was with Terrell Edmonds, which is another form of that benefits. So I could see that. Could you see someone coming in almost like on a like a Miles Killebrew or Arthur Millette type contract? It could be they want more than 1 year. Okay, we'll give you 2 years at maybe 2 years at $3 million, something like that. Or smaller. I mean, even 2 years at $4 million isn't bad, especially if you do half minimum the first year, with the rest being a signing bonus, and then the other half the second half. It would probably have to be $4 million to work it out that way, now that I do it in my head. But that's not a position you want to really spend any kind of money on.
No, I don't.
Would you be okay if the Steelers ultimately did it in the draft?
Yeah, it wouldn't be bad.
Would you be all right?
I won't be all right if they do it prior to round 4.
Yeah, absolutely. And they don't have fifth round picks, so I'm thinking 6th or 7th.
Yep.
Or undrafted free agent, because I would be shocked if the Steelers didn't have at least one tight end as an undrafted free agent, if not more, assuming they don't draft any.
I was going to say there will be 4 in the room to start camp. You might,
if not 5, probably 5, possibly.
You'll probably have an idea quickly which ones will make the roster, but there will be guys there.
Yeah. Yeah. And bottom line is, I'm okay if who ultimately ends up being the Steelers' other tight end other than Hayward and Freiermuth, if they're not even signed until after the draft. And it could even still be Zach Gentry. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, Zach Gentry might get a decent deal from somewhere else. And if he does, good for him. Good for him. And if he doesn't, then you have someone like a Gentry or another one out there like that you, after the draft, that that you didn't fill that position. I'm not concerned if the Steelers only have two tight ends, other than like reserve future contracts. If they only had those two tight ends going into the draft, because I do feel that that's something that they could fill in later.
Yes.
Yeah,
they could. It's not. What I want to say, it's not a. I don't want to say it's not a pressing need, because it is a pressing need, but it's not a need that. Not a high-ranking need. There that's the way I'll say it. It's not something that has to get done right then, right now.
Yeah. So the other thing I would say is I'm just as when you come to that other tight end position, I am as much as their play on the field matters, I'm really high on them being a high character, good teammate, great in the room type of player. To me is so much, is just as important as what they could do on the. If you're talking someone that's only going to play, 10 snaps a game, something like that, it's a whole different story when you actually go to bring them in, just based on those kind of things. Like for example, Zach Gentry last year on offense, he played. Oh, it just went away from me. He played 577 snaps on the season. Okay. So that means, so you take that 577 over 17 games. What's that average?
I'm trying to
do
get
it quick
there
in your mind. I was trying to do it. I was going to say a little bit more than it's actually more than 30. Yeah, that's way more than I expected him to play. That he played 30 snaps a game. But if you're also working Connor Hayward into taking more of those snaps if it's someone else, then what they bring to the position room is just as important, if not more, than what they're going to have out there. I mean, you don't want someone who's just really washed up and can't do anything for you on the field. But what I'm saying is you could bring in a fantastic tight end that no one else signs just because they're a problem. I don't want that.
Yeah, don't do that.
I don't want that. Don't do that. Don't do that. It's too important for Muth and Hayward, the young guys, to have someone else who's going to be a good, solid teammate for him. So, wow, man, these shows go so fast. You ready for a question? We kind of almost answered it.
We have.
It's the same deal. We're going to talk about, I'm not calling it what position they are down the depth chart. Whether you want to call it second tight end, third tight end, whatever. You've got Pat Freiermuth, you've got Connor Hayward.
How do we fill the
other tight end? Yeah. Is it what's the term we used last week? Resign? Is it free agent? Is it trade? Is it draft? Is it UDFA?
Okay. I'm telling you, I'm kind of torn here.
Okay.
Because for me, it's close. It's like a coin flip.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'm going to go. With.
Remember, don't answer yet, everyone. People think they're forgetting their rules already.
I know. I think I'm
regulars. You got to wait for me to put it in there.
I think I'm going to go with resign.
You're going to go with resign, okay? Because remember, Steel Dog 88 puts out that he's heard me say this a bunch. I'm sure he's picking on me saying it. Always remember, a 7th round pick is an undrafted free agent you don't want to fight over.
Yep.
That's really, a lot of those players are on very similar levels, and that's really it. You might actually have a player you like better there, but you think you can get them as an undrafted free agent. I said unsigned. Undrafted free agent, you might even not draft them because you think you'll get them otherwise and take the person you think you might not get. So here we go. You said resign. Since you said resign, I'll say free agent Okay. And I just put it out there in both of them for everyone to answer. I think those are the big thing. They could go draft. I just don't know. It'd be really nice if they don't have to.
Right. Because I'd love to see the draft capital going elsewhere.
Yeah. I mean, I want them to fill.
I think I got other positions I think I'd rather see them drafting for.
I want to see the Steelers fill everything like they did last year. Remember, they did fill that safety position right before the draft when they brought back Terrell Edmonds. So that way you really could draft the best player available.
Yep.
I mean, that's really what you want. Oh, so here you go. We've got George. George says resign. Thomas Riley says, when he says draft / free agent, I think he means undrafted free agent, meaning whether it's picked late or done there. Maybe that's not what you meant, Thomas, but that's what I'm going to assume. Okay. Gabriel Golden says re-sign. Brian Brown says undrafted free agent. BF Bud says to re-sign. So a lot of people wanting Gentry back. They're bringing Gentry back. Sorry. State of the Steelers said re-sign. That was really bad. I'm sorry. Steel Dog 88 said resign, as did Demetrios and Afton Forrid. And have you seen Kathy in here tonight?
I've not seen Kathy.
I haven't seen Kathy here tonight. If you're not, we miss you, Kathy. Mirna, Jane, and Bert says later round draft. Okay. Great. It skipped on me. There we go. Great 103 says resign. Ruben Stone says resign. Jamie Carlo says resign. Eric Parker says undrafted free agent. CD says resign. And he said after the draft, that which I think is a good possibility there.
Very much could be.
Yeah. Richard Adamson says undrafted free agent. Demetrios added that says, it's a decent tight end class this year. So if it just falls that way at some point, that's not terrible.
No,
okay.
I would get that.
Yeah. I mean, if it's a deep class and other people have taken tight ends and you've got a good one out there you could draft, I'm for it. Okay. George OTJ says resign. Okay. Sherry Richards says free agency. Randy Wagner says resign for grilling and chilling.
That's funny.
And some people say and still draft. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Here we go. Did I miss it? I mean, some of them are people saying it again. Harvey Stone, I don't think I said that one, says resign. Mark Tobin says keep him. Wait, it didn't come up right. Keep him. There it is. And Steelers Nation Australia, Marky D says draft. But I think that's a different kind of draft he's referring to. If you see his little icon on there, he's probably down for a good draft. So I'm not worried about the tight end position nearly as much. Are you? No. It's almost criminal that we did mention. How concerned are you with Pat Freiermuth's health?
It's one of those where I'm going to say this. I can't sit around and just constantly worry about players' health because you could drive
exactly.
You
could say it about anybody.
About that.
Are you worried about TJ Watt's health? Are you worried about Cam Hayward's health? Are you worried about Kenny Pickett's health? Are you worried about CA3's health coming off the foot? You could say that, some people are like, oh, Kevin Dotson struggled with the foot. Are you worried about his health? You could worry about anyone's health. Bottom line is, it's going to be what it's going to be.
Yeah. And then somebody who you're not even on your radar for health ends up, getting knocked out and you're just like, Okay. So I try not to figure about. So
yeah. So Afton says Kathy says driving and listening just isn't able to type. That what I do that a lot on The Hangover. I'll listen to it live, but it's actually because I'm cooking dinner.
Oh, mine is I'm typically on my way home from work.
Yeah, I'm usually cooking dinner. I got the headphones in, listening live, and occasionally might stop just to chime in for one thing there. But so trust me, we'll fill you. Rich, it's kind of been fun. Do we have any other ones here? Just making sure we got that. We got people even saying hi to Kathy.
Right.
So
hi, Kathy.
I understand the whole health thing, but
You can't sit and dwell on that
because
you can't. They don't give you enough roster spots to be able to think about every single and salary cap space to think about everybody's health, which is why it seems like everybody's like, well, we weren't prepared for missing TJ last year. Well, it's because we don't have, when you put together some of the players we have, you don't have salary cap space to have another TJ Watt sitting on your bench.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it is. And they're like, and it's funny because people are like, well, your whole defense shouldn't revolve around one player being out there. I'm like, they're the defensive player of the year. They're the best player on defense in the NFL. If you don't have a defense that's catering to what they can do, then that's criminal as well.
Yeah.
But I mean, you have to adjust, but it's not going to be an easy adjustment. That's exactly what it is. Oh, wait, we got another one.
Okay.
Here we go. Steelman fan 1111 says to resign. Okay. So, as we said at the beginning, talked about it plenty there, but technically you're still going to see if you're listening to this in audio, it's probably still going to be the Behind the Steel Curtain logo for the channel. It's probably somewhere going to have SB Nation written somewhere. You're not going to see the red, white, and blue of FFSN, where if you're not sure what I'm talking about, make sure you check us out on Twitter with the logo there. You're not going to see that until we actually get our feeds released from SB Nation, although they promised, well, they didn't. I mean, they told us we had to be ready to go by March 1st. Then we did our part. They didn't do theirs. So now we have to wait on them. But you know what? It doesn't matter because we're still coming with the same podcast and the same things. It's all in the fine print name that you might see somewhere that probably doesn't matter when you go to listen to stuff. So make sure you're checking it out and check out BehindTheSteelCurtain.com. As Jeff Hartman says, the website still exists. I just finished up a series on Kevin Colbert's top 5 draft picks by round, since we're going into a new regime for this draft, and based on commenter demand, I'm going to start now with the worst ones, with the worst picks by round.
Okay,
we'll be working through them, and as soon as I work through those, we'll be into where I look into whatever happened to this draft class that I do leading up to the draft. Don't have to go back to 2004 anymore because we said farewell to Benjamin Todd Roethlisberger. Just got to go back to 2011 because that's Cam Hayward. He's the eldest statesman of Steelers draft picks. So that's what we have going on there. Rich, what do you have to say here tonight to close us out?
You know what? I'm going to keep it short and sweet. Thanks for coming. Thanks for letting me come on here again with you, bro, and talk Steeler football. It's always a lot of fun.
Of course.
And I'm going to keep it short, sweet, and to the point. And I hate to say this because this is not so Steeler football related, but spring fishing season is drawing near. I can't wait.
Can't wait.